Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Addicted to Gear. Today we're doing our regular Sunday hangout. So I hope you guys are all doing great today and ready for another Sunday show. So grab your coffee if you haven't already done so. Grab your guitar. This is where we talk gear and a whole bunch of other stuff. So let me just get one thing set up here. Always some last little adjustments I need to do before the show starts. And today I set up a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. So took me a little while to get everything dialed in this morning, but I actually I'm playing. Usually I play through a modeler, either my FM9 or something like this. This is the NUX MG30. But today I'm going through the Bernetti. I'm going through my pedals here, through this guitar. So hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of sound samples later on as we get through the show. Talk about some pedals, talk about some tones, talk about all kinds of great stuff. And it's going to be a good conversation today, I think. We got a pretty good mix. We'll have some Valentine's Day talk. We'll talk about some new gear. We'll talk about rediscovering old gear, which honestly to me I think is even more exciting than buying new gear. And some new interesting trades that I'm considering, as well as some product updates, some new stuff that's coming out. So first things first, welcome everybody. Where's everybody watching from today? Give me a little heads up if you're new, and if you're not new, just remind me where you're watching from. I know a few of you have also attempted to guess which guitar I would be playing today. A few of you guessed a Telecaster, somebody I think guessed a Super Strats, and a few other things I noticed as I was waiting. But I'm actually playing this guy. This is a Gibson. So be rocking this thing today. So Dan Steely says, I wonder if he got that Supro Black Magic amp. Pro Audio Star has one new for $749, half off. Hey man, thanks for the tip there. Hold on, let me take a look at that right now. So Pro Audio, yeah, I don't know if that's an American shop. Probably is, right? Let's take a look. I don't know where they're located. I'm not familiar with these guys, but I have a feeling they're in the US, which would probably not work for me unless there's some kind of deal with tariffs. Where are they? Contact us. Let's see. They don't mention where they're from. Do you know where they're from? And what does that convert to in Canadian dollars? Let's have a look. Supro. So here it says that's the custom one. That's not the one I was looking for. The Black Magic is the Black Magic Reverb is 1,003.09.99. That's how much it is. It was 1,699. Now it's 1,003. Not bad. But I don't know where they're from, these guys. I'll have to look at that, man. They're from Brooklyn, these guys? Yeah, this is American dollars. If that's American dollars, yeah. It's still tempting. It's still very tempting. Thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate that. I'll definitely take a look at that and consider it. As if I need more temptation. Okay, so let's see. So Mean Gene thinks they're in New York. All right. Jack says he's in Louisiana, Alabama for Mike. Profile Production says VA. Steely Dan Dan Steely says Brooklyn. Shane says, WTH, Tony Gibson, stop playing authentic. Lone Star State says the Human Jones. San Francisco says Mean Gene. Florida. Dan Steely says Florida. I guess when you said Boston before, you meant that's where the store's from. Martian Murray says San Antonio. Of course, Shane's all the way in Japan. Dan Steely said he just wrecked his credit card. And Shane says no new gear this week, but I did perform live. So Shane, how did that go? I think you mentioned it last week. You were going to be doing a show. And I think, if I remember correctly, you said there was like 3,000 people there. What kind of show was this? Give us the details. And what did you play? Were you nervous? Did it go down well? Any mess ups? It's always cool to have a live show. It's always exciting. So Dan says, I got the Supro Royale for $870, almost half off. For deals like that, man, it's really good. If you can get a deal half off like that, grab it. It's always nice. I regret selling my Supro. That's why for those of you who haven't tuned in regularly, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I used to have a Supro, and I sold it. And I shouldn't have sold it. And now I'm kind of lusting for another one. So we'll see what happens. Not that I need another amp, but I kind of do. So yeah, let us know what ended up happening this week. Let us know who did some damage to their credit card. Who else did damage to their credit card? Dan's tempting us with a lot of deals here. He says Guitar Center had the Dave Grohl 335 for $849 for 2 days. I really like the style of that guitar, and I always, back, I'm going to say maybe 2 years ago or something like that, I kind of had gas for that guitar. However, when I tried it, when it came out, I tried it, and it's funny because a friend of mine had a Chinese, like a Chipson version of that guitar, and I liked it. I liked the feel of it and everything. When they came out with the Epiphone version, I was expecting to like it too, but I tried it and I felt like the neck was a little bit too beefy, and my friend's guitar, which was actually a Chipson knockoff of that guitar, felt better to me in terms of the neck. Now, I'm not talking about the quality of the construction and all that kind of stuff, but at least the neck feel felt better. It felt a little bit smaller in my hands, which was more comfortable to me. So I was a little disappointed because I really like that guitar. And also, I'm not sure if they're selling that guitar with a case now. But that's one thing that kind of put me off on that guitar, is that if it doesn't come with a case, if they just give you a gig bag, or maybe they don't even give you a gig bag these days, I don't know. It seems like they're cheaping out on everything. What the problem is that guitar doesn't fit in a regular case. It's too big. So, because it's a 335 body, but it's got a longer headstock. You know, this part of it's much longer, this part of the guitar. So it doesn't fit in a regular case. So you need a special case for it, which adds a substantial amount of money to the actual purchase. So that's the reason why I didn't end up buying it. But it's still a cool guitar, I gotta say. So guys, before we get deeper into the show and before other people trickle in, please give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. We can start the show with a little encouragement. It always helps. And yeah, we'll talk about the rest of the stuff in a minute. Now, obviously, yesterday was Valentine's Day. If you guys are lucky enough to have a significant other, you were probably busy. So I'm happy Valentine's Day didn't fall on a Sunday, because then there'd be less people tuning in probably, I think. So just to know, not to know your business, but did you guys have a good Valentine's Day? Everything turned out okay, enjoyable. Hopefully, you guys did your due diligence and made your significant other happy, and maybe celebrated by going out to dinner or whatever it may be. I kind of did the same, low key, but it's always nice to do something. I think, you know, if you have a significant other, you got to keep them happy. You know what they say. So Shane says the venue seats 2,000, but we had about $500 to $600. Dollars, 500 to 600 people. Thinking dollars. I think I'm still thinking amplifiers at this point. Played Red Hot Chili Peppers and Japanese tunes. All right, cool. So it went well, I take it, Shane. Encores at the end and everything. Standing ovations, all good. Very cool. That's exciting, man. I miss playing live. I like the stress, which is a good stress, and the excitement leading up to a show. You know, it always feels exciting. If any of you here haven't ever played live, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But those of you who play live regularly, you know what I mean. It's a really cool feeling. I think once you do it, it's hard not to want to do it again. Unless it really goes sideways, you know. If everything goes sideways, that's not a good thing. But other than that, it's a really cool experience. Steven. Hey, Steven. He says, I didn't spend much money, $65 US, but I got both of my 1970s Ampeg V4 guitar heads up and running after 16 years in storage. I'm sure my neighbors hate me now. Hey, congratulations. Were they just bad tubes, or what was the issue with those amplifiers, Steven? This is one of the topics I wanted to talk about today, guys, is just rediscovering other, sometimes we get so caught up in buying new gear that we forget about the gear we already have. And sometimes it's more fun just to get the old gear up and running again and, enjoying what we already have than having to buy, new gear. Sometimes we just get distracted by shiny things too quickly. So I did that a little bit yesterday. As you can see, my place is a mess. I have the pedal board out. I got all my cabling out and a whole bunch of stuff behind me. So it's kind of tangled wires everywhere. But the reason why is because I do have two TC electronic pedals on my board, a reverb and a delay. So if you guys know the TC electronic stuff, so I have the Hall of Fame 2 and I have the flashback, the second one as well. They have something called tone prints. And it's a really cool thing if you guys don't already know. The tone prints allow you to download and beam right into your pickup with your phone. You can actually download the tone print app. And then you can beam tones directly into your guitar just by sound. And it puts it into the pedal. You have 3 or 4 slots that are available for tone prints, and then you could customize your sound. So not only do you have a whole bunch of sounds already set up to go, like in my reverb, I have, room, reverb hall, spring plate, church, and all those other good sounds. But I can also download additional ones and then put them in there. So yesterday I was kind of doing that because I didn't do that for the longest time. I kind of just let it slide, and I forgot about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, instead of going out and buying a new reverb pedal or a new delay pedal, why don't I just optimize what I already have? So that's what I did. And I did that for the flashback delay as well. So I was happy about that. Then I plugged in my Brunetti Pleximan, and I play through that quite a bit, but I don't always play through the same cabinet. So I plugged it into my Egnator 1x12 cabinet there, which has a Celestion A-type speaker. and plugged it in there. Sounded great. So I set everything up, and we'll give you some sounds in a little bit there. We'll play around with that a little bit. Uh, but first, I want to hear your comments before we get too deep here. Dan says my wife was not pleased with my joke about they called the 335 because you're supposed to have three of them. You mean you don't? You don't have three of them already? I have one of my guitars that I'm trying to get rid of, sell. It's a really nice guitar, by the way. It's a vintage, the vintage brand. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the vintage guitars. They're pretty nice. It's a vintage version of the 335, which I bought a while ago, and also put in some custom pickups in it. Anyways, I had it for sale, and some guy offered me a trade for it. And I don't usually like trading anything for my gear because I'm trying to get rid of gear, not accumulate more gear. And so this guy, he's offering me all kinds of things, other guitars and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get rid of some guitars, not accumulate more. And it's a very difficult thing for me to try and sell stuff because a lot of people offer trades. That's the first thing they like to do. Like, why offer money when I can offer other gear? Because we all have tons of gear we're trying to, get rid of or minimize or whatever. So he offered me another guitar. Then he offered me three different types of guitars, and some pedals and a pedal board and a combination of an amplifier and everything. And I'm like, man, it's unfortunate, but these other people don't know. Like, I'm very picky because I have enough gear. I don't really need like another reverb pedal or another distortion pedal and stuff like that. So I'm pretty picky when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm like, dude, thanks for offering all these things, but I mean, I don't really need. Um, so I don't know if I'm just gonna like forget the deal. Although one of the amplifiers that he wanted to throw into the deal wasn't bad. It was a Laney Cub 15 with reverb. And I don't know if you have ever tried those amps or seen those amps, but they're not that bad. And because I'm trying to sort of downsize my gear, I don't want to carry heavy stuff. It's a small amplifier. It's a 1 by 12, and it's 15 watts. It goes down to 1, so it's very convenient for home use, and sounds pretty good. It's for a small amplifier. Sounds pretty good. It's got pretty nice cleans, kind of like the Princeton, but it also can do some nice drive as well. So I'm like, that wouldn't be bad. That might be something I might consider. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough for the cost of the guitar and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. We'll have to. I told him I'd think about it and see what happens. Cheers, guys. Patrick says he's got the Laney Club 12. I think the Cub 12 is so this one's the 15. Is that the one with the boost knob that they came out with? I think they came out with a later version that had like a red boost knob on it. I'm not sure if that's the one. Let me know. Shane says we did okay. The chicks loved us. Don't tell my wife. Did they throw like stuff on stage, Shane, for you? That's pretty cool, man. I hope you took some pictures or some video or something. That's it's always nice to have a little bit of a memento of the event. So Steven says he had to buy a couple of AX7s, 12 AX7 tubes, clean up the tube sockets. Steven, am I wrong, but have the price of tubes skyrocketed lately? Seems like everything's expensive. I'm glad I kept a whole bunch. I have a whole bunch of tubes in a bag, in a box, as backups, because I think right now they're pretty darn expensive. But yeah, if you have the new tubes put in there, it should sound sweet. What kind of tubes did you end up buying? Dan says he picked up an LTD George Lynch B stock from ESP Direct for 35% off of retail. I found that the used market is not much cheaper as of late. No, I do agree. I think the used markets, the prices are still inflated. The prices are inflated and stuff is not moving, I find. I see stuff posted for a long time before it actually gets sold. So that's a cool deal, man. Did you get? Is it the George Lynch with the tiger motif paint job? Is that the one you picked up? Did you go full 80s on that guitar? Shane says he's answering Dan. He says I tried out one of those, the Japanese exclusive Edwards version. Not a bad price. Loved the Lynch mod. So we have a couple of fans of that guitar. Very cool. Hey, Paul, how's it going, dude? Paul has the pedal of the week suggestion. He's suggesting the Hangerman Gamma Radiation OD7 silicon transistors, Range Master-ish boost, handmade Hawaii 130 USD, from boost to low, then mid and high gain killer. All in one pedal, huh? Not bad, not bad. That's not a bad price for a handmade pedal. Hangerman, I gotta check that out. I'll put it on my list. Thank you as per usual. We always appreciate it, Paul. It's always nice to have those suggestions. Hey guys, if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up button, I would appreciate it. It's always nice to see those thumbs. Guitar Boy has a question: how to improvise on random backing tracks without chord tones? So what do you mean by that? Without chord tones? Like, you mean without knowing what the chords are? The chord changes? Is that what you're talking about? Let's clarify that, Guitar Boy, and we can help you out, hopefully. Shane says he's never played a Laney. I've never played a Laney either. I've just watched some videos, but they sound pretty nice. Although, you know, you could always EQ the videos and stuff, do post-processing to make them sound even better. But if you pay attention, you can kind of hear the, you know, the DNA of the amplifier, even if they would put post-processing on it. Dan says, always with the trade. Sadly, they offer the trade, but fairness equals them getting the better end of the deal. Yeah, the thing is, though, when you're considering a trade, often what people forget is that they trade you something maybe with the value that they paid when they bought it brand new in mind, but they don't realize that over time, like, it's not worth the same amount anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe when it came out, maybe that amplifier cost $400, but, you know, used, it's no longer $400. So they're trying to deal with you based on that price, which is not that accurate. Patrick says no boost before. Okay. Club 12R. Yeah. So I guess it's the same model, except this one has a little bit more juice. Shane says, not just screaming. I think someone took video. So were you like Elvis? Somebody was handing you the foulards as you were sweating and you were throwing them in the crowd? You know, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sure you did very well. I'm sure it was a great show. Nice. How many songs did you end up playing? I mean, it sounds like it was probably a group effort. Maybe there was other bands playing. Steven says the two prices are crazy. Yeah, man. I know. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's crazy. Patrick says it was discontinued. He paid 500 used Montreal. Okay, I see. Cool. And somebody's saying here increased tube costs due to orange tariffs. I don't know. I think the price of tubes went up even before the tariffs came into play. So I don't know. I'm thinking it was just something that was happening. Guys, is my voice too low? Do you hear me okay, or should I put it a little louder? I'm hearing myself loud enough, but I don't know if you guys are. Patrick said it's my amp for Pink Floyd sounds with pedals. That's cool. So you're happy with it? They get a good reputation, those amplifiers. Patrick says it's the same amp that the guy on the internet does all the Pink Floyd sounds at 1 watt. I haven't seen that one, Patrick. You hear me fine? Great. Fantastic. Good, good. So does talking about Valentine's Day, does your partner support your gear addiction, guys? Do they tolerate it? My wife tolerates it. She doesn't support it. Like, she doesn't encourage me. She knows better, but she does support it. So that's good enough for me. Have you ever hidden a gear purchase from your better half? You know, maybe due to bad timing or something, you know. You ended up buying something when maybe you shouldn't have. You maybe should have held off, but the deal was too good to resist. You know, maybe you ended up in the doghouse. You know what? I often do have that buyer's remorse, because I know that most of the time the stuff that I end up buying is not a need, it's more a want. But at the same time, I also know that, you know, if I buy something and I do like it, then there's always something else that can go to, you know. So at the end of the day, it's kind of always the same money coming and going, you know. So I tend to look at it that way, even though that might be a slightly cracked way of looking at things. It works for me. I can justify it in my mind, at least. Maybe you guys are doing the same. I don't know. Let's see here. Hey, Ari. All the way from Indonesia. Welcome, dude. Is this your first time joining us? If it is, welcome. Don't be shy. Jump into the chat. That's what we're here for. FM says, I seem to recall tubes got expensive during COVID. Something about production slowdowns. Yeah, I remember that too. There was a lack of resources or elements that they were using to actually build the tubes. I do remember that. And that was across the board, basically, with almost everything. There was a chip shortage at the same time. And I think that's when the prices went up, and then they never came down. It's funny how that happens, right? It goes up and it never does come down. Same with guitars and same with other things. Steven says, most of my old ones are GE or RCA. My uncle ran a TV repair shop back in the day, so I got them at cost, but sadly, they're all passed away now. Well, yeah, if you had an old, if your uncle repaired TVs, he must have had a shitload of those tubes. I remember when you were able to go into a store, convenience store, or even a pharmacy, I think it was, and they had a tube tester, a big tube tester that they would just have on the floor, and you'd be able to bring your tubes from your TV and test them to see if they were good, and then buy another one. I still remember that. Vaguely, I must have been like really, really small, but I remember. Really, really young, but I remember. I don't know if any of you guys, if you're around my age or older, if you remember that. So Guitar Boy says, how would you solo on a random backing track without knowing the chords? You would say play a scale. Is that correct? Well, you can. First of all, the if you're going to be playing with backing tracks, what I would try and do first of all is try and figure out what the chord progressions are and write them down. Usually, you can figure that out quite easily. And based on the chord progressions, the way, if you look at all the chords that are in a song, you can kind of figure out what scale it's in, if you know a little bit of basic theory. So if you at least know what chords are coming up, you can land on the right notes, the root notes of certain chord changes or progressions, and it will sound better than just flailing away just randomly. But if you look at some basic theory, you'll quickly understand how the chords and the scales work together. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people will focus on the scale, but to figure out the scale, you got to see what chords are in the song that build up that particular piece. And you could put the pieces together and figure out the scale. It's way more than I can explain in a couple of seconds, but there's probably some good information out there on the internet on how to do it in more detail in terms of theory behind it. But generally, as long as you know what chords are coming up, you can kind of still be in the ballpark, even if you just end up playing your pentatonics over that particular chord progression. You can actually make it fit and not sound out of place. Human Jones says, I'm fairly new to acquiring gear. Yet, to sell a piece of gear, I do have a Yamaha semi-hollow bass from the 60s that I don't play. Gonna hang it on the wall. So you didn't sell anything. You're a hoarder. Well, you know what? I mean, if you intend to play that bass eventually, or perhaps give it to one of your kids, or maybe come back to it later, it's always nice to have a bass. I have a couple, at least two. They're not great, but I like them because if ever I need to put together any kind of piece of music, if I'm recording something where I want to put down an idea, it's always nice to put down a bass track and then, a chord progression over the bass track and then solo and then figure out the melody, that kind of stuff. So it does come in handy. So I have two. I've had them forever, and I also never sold them. So Dan says, my wife tolerates as long as I don't treat my equipment like a clothes hanger or artwork. As long as you're playing it, man. I think that's cool. Hey, Charles, what's happening, dude? Nice to see you, man. Patrick says, I bought my first Fractal stuff, the AM4, and love it. Patrick, you're going to love that thing, man. I'm telling you, Fractal makes really, really good gear. And the reason why you're going to love it is because not only does it have great sounds, it's very versatile, but there's so much you can do with it that if you really want to go deep, it's going to take you a long time to figure out all the little elements and all the little tweaks you can do to that thing. It's very mind-blowing, but you're going to love it. I think that's a great buy. A lot of people shun those units because they're expensive, but honestly, like if you're going to be buying a pedal board like this, and you're going to be trying a whole bunch of pedals before you find the right one, it's going to cost you almost the same amount of money if you think about it. These days, I mean, you're going to spend a minimum $100 on a pedal, if not more, depending on which one it is. So, I mean, if you have 6, 7, or 8 pedals on a board and a power supply, and all the connectors and all the wires, I mean, how much is that costing you? So yeah, I think that's it's a good choice, Patrick. Congratulations, dude. MFN says, my wife encourages provided I'm on headphones when she's in the house. Jean-Pierre says, if you believe it, it's not a lie. I think he's making fun of me. I think he's, what I said earlier about it makes sense in my mind. Thanks for the encouragement, JP. Hope you're doing well, man. Presley says, thinking of thinning out some gear to purchase a new paraglider. Trade something I'm not using for something I will use a lot. Paraglider, eh? Man, okay, you wouldn't catch me in one of those. Sorry, dude. They're cool. They're cool to look at, but I wouldn't actually want to use one of those. I'm just one of those guys that believes like if God wanted us to fly, he would have given us wings, you know? I'm just but dude, you do you, man. If that's something you like, go for it. There's a dude, there's a couple of dudes here by my place in the summertime that they do the paragliding with the parachute and the the little fan on the back kind of thing. Is that considered a paraglide? I think that's a paraglider too, right? Because a parachute glider type of thing. Because they had the other ones which were like, the I guess they're called paragliders too, but they're ones that are shaped like a pointy, those paper airplanes you would make by folding up the paper and throwing it. They look like those. This one looks like a parachute, and he's got like a fan blowing behind him. I figure those are, excuse me, guys. I figure those are. Hold on, I got a cough. I figure those are safer because you already have a parachute. So what can go wrong? You're already halfway saved. But the other ones, not so much. Shane says, man, I can't remember tube testing. You don't remember that, Shane? MFN remembers. So he must be, closer to my age or maybe a little older. The Human Jones says, Tony, your voice is maybe just a hair low. I've got my volume up a little more than normal, but it's not bad. Okay, I can fix that. Let me try and fix that, guys. Let me see here. Without wrecking anything else. How's that? Is that better? A little bit better? Just added a little bit more gain there, that's all. So a few other people are giving you advice as to how to go about playing over backing tracks. By the way, guys, I think playing over backing tracks is fantastic if you're new to playing guitar. Just being able to play with a band, with a rhythm, making it sound good. The other thing you can do also is record yourself while you're doing it, if you can. That's fantastic because it's going to allow you to really hear where you make the flubs and improve. Steven says, I just bought a tube tester the other day, going to replace all of the resistors with 1% tolerance to improve the accuracy. Yeah, if the amplifier is old, Steven, for sure those resistors have shifted over time in terms of their values. Because what ends up happening, if you dealt with electronic repairs, I don't need to tell you this, but over time, a lot of the resistors will shift so that the values change and it doesn't sound great anymore. If the amplifier is more than, I'm going to say, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, it might be good to check it out. If you know how to do it, you can do it yourself, but that's something I would probably bring to an amp tech to check out. Yeah, I also remember that JTrem. When the repair guy would come to your house to fix your television, he would open up his toolbox and there'll be a whole bunch of tubes in there. That's when you could still fix TVs. Now you can't fix them anymore. It's a throwaway product now. Something happens, that's it. Warranty's over, get another one. That's funny. The things you remember. So Patrick says, who bought a George Lynch guitar? Congrats. Love Lynch. I used to have some of his guitars, but found that the necks are chunky for me. Yeah, there's a couple other people that have commented about the thickness of the neck that I've spoken to over time, but I haven't actually tried it. Paul says, when I tell my lady I'm getting gear, she just goes silent. When I get there, it's again, no comment. It's okay. It balances out, Paul. I'm sure she does the same. Maybe she comes up, with new pairs of shoes or bags or whatever. It balances out. Patrick also says, Tony, I just want to tell I'm into vinyl these days. I bought the Led Zeppelin Graffiti with 3 vinyls, and you would love it remastered also. I still have the box set, the Led Zeppelin remastered box set on CD. I still have that. I'm waiting for the CDs to come back, Patrick. I still have a whole bunch. I'm not getting rid of them, because I know that's going to be the next step. Somebody's going to come up with something like, oh, now we have a new type of CD player that you can take your old CDs and it sounds even better, and it's like upscaling, or I don't know what. But you know what's going to happen. Just a matter of time. So the Human Jones says, no new gear this week, but I did get a billboard to promote my music. So that was a very fun experience and not as expensive as one might think. You got a billboard? Really? Wow. I always imagined that to be very expensive. Let us know how that works. I have no clue, man. This is something I've never experienced. Very cool. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about rediscovering old gear. I mentioned that at the opening of today's show, and this week I had one of those very cool moments where I plugged my Agnator cab loaded with a Celestion A-type speaker into the Bernetti, and I forgot how good it sounds. And I really liked it. It's funny how you forget sometimes when you spend time playing through modelers or other amplifiers, and then you go back to another one. It's like, oh yeah, now I remember why I like this amplifier. And of course, the Bernetti Pleximan is such a great amplifier, very, very flexible. It gives you a nice, authentic Plexi character, but it gets you the control that you want, and you can do a lot with it. So a lot of people might not understand it because it's got a couple of it's got 2 channels. It's got a clean, and it's got the main channel. The clean only has 2 knobs. It's just volume, and then it's like a thickness knob, basically, just 2, and then the rest is the full gamut of controls, as well as 3, actually, well, there's 3 stages of gain. There's clean, like regular, no gain. Then there's mid and high gain. And then there's a solo boost that you can use. So all of that with your pedals can give you so many tones. It's incredible. So I never get tired of playing that amp. And like I can make you hear a little bit about, a little bit of right now, if you want. I'm going to have to probably turn off my mic because it's going to pick up the picking. So this is just going through the volume tone clean channel. Very basic, no reverb or anything. If I put on my Hall of Fame, here, let me just turn off my mic. So you can hear the reverb there. It's very subtle in the background, but I just use that. Sometimes I could go through the clean as it is now with my pedals to just give it a bit of dirt. And you can see, like, not even going into the main channel. So if I turn on, for example, the 65 Nu X, I'm going to turn off let me just turn off the mic. So you can hear that's just with the 65, which is a really inexpensive new X pedal. But what I like to do is I like to give it a bit more girth with my EP booster. So I'll make you hear that with and without. So you can hear how it fans up with the EP booster. And I usually have the 69 overdrive for more of that almost like a driven Fender sound. But I also have the Mojo Hand Rook, which is a slightly different overdrive. And again, I'm just going through the clean channel now. I'm not even going through the drive channel. And I'll show you the difference when I go through the drive channel. But so I don't have any delay. I just have a little bit of a plate reverb right now. And if I add some delay, just a quick little slap back, and I'll make you hear. I'll turn off the 65, sorry, and I'll turn on the Rook. So right there, that's just the clean channel. Nothing else. So if I go to the dirty channel, I'll make you hear that. I'll turn off the drive. We don't need that. I'll turn off, let's start with everything turned off. How's that? Okay, so that's the clean. I'll go to the, I'll turn off my mic. So now this one is just, and the gain on the amplifier is basically at, I'm going to say, not even 2. This is like really low gain on the gain channel. If I pump it up, it'll go crazy. But let me just show you how it sounds with a low gain, very low gain, and then some pedals. So here we go. Reverb. Let's do, yeah. Okay, so how many people got their eardrums blown out? It maybe was too loud, I don't know. But just to give you a little bit of flavor in terms of what you can do with a relatively low gain sound with a little bit of pedals and other things. So if you're lucky enough to have a really cool amplifier, and again, it's very hard to get this sound to reproduce over a stream because volume and things get blown out in terms of there's no limiting on it, so you can get distortion. I don't know how that sounded. Sounded good on my side, but it probably sounded not that good on your side. I don't know. But just give you an idea of how you can handle amplifiers, you know. If you're going to be doing any kind of experimentation, it's always great to start out with a pretty clean platform, you know. And then if I wanted to just bypass everything here in terms of, any kind of the distortion pedals, I can just pump up the gain on this side, but I gotta be very careful because it's gonna be loud. Oops. So here's the, well, that's gonna be loud on your side. So let's try and, can I put the line out a little bit lower? Okay, so now this is just the amp. There's no pedals. So let me just do that. So that's just the amp. No distortion pedals or anything. So you can get a lot of sounds, man. It's a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that I really love about playing through real amplifiers, is just being able to tweak the sound, getting into the sweet spot where you like it. And it takes a long time to find the right stuff. I wish you can, Human Jones, thank you for the nice comment. If you were here, it probably would sound so much better. I mean, it doesn't sound the same when you're going through, a stream. But, cranking it up and playing this thing live sounds amazing. So I'm really happy with this amplifier, and it was a good purchase. Jack Collins says, I'm sorry, Tony, but I have no desire to get off the ground. I like it, Tony. I thought it was sounding good. No desire to get off the ground? Well, I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of like that too, man. Jack says, Tony, I'm addicted to Epiphone guitars. I would buy the Les Paul Special double cut. Okay, that gets me to the poll question. Okay, let's talk about that. So basically, I put in the poll question for this week, if you would be interested in buying a double cut Gibson style guitar, because they came out with an Epiphone, which is a double cut. And so I don't know if you guys saw that. If you didn't, I'll share that with you. Let me just put it on the screen here so you can see it, if I can manage. There we go. All right, can you see that, guys? I hope you can see it. So this is the Epiphone model that they just released not long ago. And I was just asking whether or not you guys would be into a double cut like that, because I've never owned a double cut Les Paul style guitar. It's basically, one of those things where you have to get used to the look, because oftentimes, we're so accustomed to seeing a single cut guitar when it comes to Gibsons that double cut looks odd sometimes, So, but at $800, it doesn't look bad. I mean, this particular one looks quite nice. You can see it's got the binding all around it as well. It's got the triple ply pickguard on it. It's got the inspired by Gibson headstock with the Grover tuners on it. I don't know how much it weighs, but at about $800, that's something that maybe some of you might want to check out. So basically, I wanted to ask, what do you guys think? So we're going to look at the poll question in a little bit, and we'll talk about that. Zarly67 says, great sound, Tony. I have a Friedman PT20 combo, enjoy similar tones, and is a lot of fun. Yeah, those Friedman amps are fantastic, Zarly. I know what you mean. I got a, I don't know if you're new, but I got one too. It's hidden behind there. That's the Dirty Shirley right there. That's also a great amplifier. I really enjoy playing as well. That's more of JTM 45 kind of sound. but you can get such great sounds out of them. Paul says Tony still saving, so I have money for the Wampler pedal head when it's eventually released. I'm doing the same. I think I have time, Paul. I don't think they're going to be releasing that early. I think it's going to be at least 3 months or so before you can actually get one. They're probably going to be sold out. So by the time you do get one, it might be, maybe 4 months. So if you can save like, $150 a month or something like that, you should be able to afford it by then. Not afford it, but I mean have enough money saved in your piggy bank so you don't feel it. I'm going to probably do the same. Michael says, what reverb pedal do you like? There's so many great ones. Right now, I'm not going expensive or boutique or anything. The one I have here is the Hall of Fame 2, which does enough for me. I don't really need more than that right now. Obviously, there are better ones than that. The Strymon stuff is really cool, a lot more expensive. But for right now, the Hall of Fame is plenty. Sometimes I'll even go to something even cheaper. I'll even go to an old Joyo analog one that I think I bought for $30, depending on what sounds I want, if I don't need something complicated. But this one's nice because it covers all the bases. So I like that one. So Shane says he doesn't like Epiphone. He says, no, I'll pass, save up for the good stuff. If I want a double cut, I would get the Super Strat. Yeah, super. Well, this is not a Strat guitar, though, Shane. You know what I mean? Like, this wouldn't necessarily, if I was looking for that Strat type sound, I wouldn't necessarily, consider this guitar, the Epiphone. Epiphone to me is more of like a Les Paul style guitar, but I get what you're saying. And Good Music is Good says, I take the pickguard off most of my Les Pauls and 335s. I think a lot of people do that. I do both. I have some on, some off. I like both. Some guitar, if the flame is really nice, I'll take it off. Or if it hasn't been installed, I'll leave it off. I don't like making holes in my guitars. If it's already there, I'll just leave it technically, most of the time. J-Tram says, I like the double cut, but I'm not crazy about the color. They have more than one color, though, just to be fair. It comes in quite a few different colors. This particular model, yeah, they're always offered in a few different colors. And if they don't have that many right now, they usually will eventually come out with some more. So just be patient. All right. And Dan Steely says there's also an Epiphone Gibson double cut with Gibson P90s that lists for $9.99. There's plenty of choice, man, when it comes to guitars. Plenty of choice. Paul says the Rook sounds better by a lot. It does sound more open. It does sound more like an amplifier compared to the new X pedal. But I like the new X for certain things. It just adds a little bit when I need it. But I agree that the Rook has been on my board for a long time, and I think they even came out with other versions, and I still keep it on my board. It also has a toggle switch with 3 different modes, so you can hear the difference between the modes, and some of them give you even more compression. Some sound even more open. It's a great pedal. So the Human Jones says, I'll pass on the Epiphone double cut, but I do like the blue though. The blue one, I'm a sucker for Felon Blue. Felon Blue, that how you pronounce it? Felon Blue. Yeah, I like blue. Yeah, I don't have that many blue guitars. I think I have one right now. But on the other hand, some of them look pretty sweet. Profile wants to know if I'm going to be picking up the orange Synergy module. I don't know yet, man. There's so many choices, and every week I get tempted by something else. So it's like, last week it was the Synergy, This week it's something slightly different. Now that the Wampler pedal head unit is going to be coming out, I'm like, maybe I'll wait for that. There's so many things, so many things. Hey Zach, what's happening, dude? Bombay says I'm eyeing the Yamaha RevStar right now. Ever tried it? I have tried it in the store. Great. It's a really nice guitar. A lot of people love the RevStar stuff. They've become very popular ever since a few key players have started using them, including Matteo Mancuso. And if you don't know who he is, check him out. Amazing guitarist. He's I think he's being endorsed by them. He was playing those guitars. I think he still is. So yeah, they've become very popular, and you can't go wrong with Yamaha stuff. They make very solid instruments. The thing with Yamaha to me is that they make really solid guitars. They've always made really solid guitars and gear, but they never have the, to me anyways, they never have the mojo. You know what I mean? So it's a great guitar. They're solid. There's nothing wrong with them, but they don't have that mojo. Like you, I don't know. And maybe this is the wrong thing to say, and I'm not trying to insult anybody that has Yamaha guitars or is playing Yamaha guitars, but it's just like I've never felt myself saying I gotta go out and buy a Yamaha guitar. You know, it's like you're always looking for, that Gibson, that Fender, PRS, or Ibanez or whatever it may be. But I rarely see people, I've never done it, saying I got to go out and buy the Yamaha guitar. Even though some of them are great. They have fantastic sounding and playing guitars. They're just missing that little, I don't know what. I don't know how to describe it to you guys. But I think maybe you understand what I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's just me, guys. That doesn't mean you're all thinking about that brand the same way. But it's just one of those things. So getting back to that Laney Cub 15, I'm still considering it. I might actually, I don't know, see if I can swing it some other way. I think it's worth it in terms of an amplifier, a small amplifier like that, like a grab and go amplifier. I don't have a really small grab and go amplifier. The smallest one I have is the Princeton. And I don't really take the Princeton out. That's the one I hand wired myself, and I kind of just don't want to like damage it. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's working great. But because it's hand wired, maybe it's a little bit more delicate, especially since I did it. So I think the Laney could be an interesting amp for trade. I also been checking out some new NUX gear, guys. I don't know if you guys know or heard about the Vertigo. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it properly. The Mark II. I got one to check out here. I don't know if you guys know this one, this guy. So this is a very interesting piece of gear from NUX that I want to check out, and they've been doing some incredible things lately. I'm pretty interested in this guy. I like, curious about the AB roll pedal and the dual loop pedal that they recently came out with. So I'll be trying to see if I can do some reviews on those units. They're not budget gear, I think. When you're getting to these type of units, they're a little bit more expensive. So there may be less takers because of the price, but they do have interesting points, with the signal routing possibilities and the benefits to using them for live performances and the looping flexibility and all that kind of stuff. So any of you using NUX gear out there? I like their stuff. Like they just came out with the firmware update this week for the MG30. So if you guys have the MG30, which I did a review of, you can check out. I really liked this unit, especially at the price point that it was being sold at. Now they came out with a firmware update for it where you're able to do scenes. And if you guys don't know what scenes are, it's basically whenever you have your signal chain, you can have one signal chain with three versions of it. So basically, it's like if you have 30 patches, now you just multiplied that by three. So you can do a lot more. It's very flexible. If you learn how to use these scenes, you can use them to your advantage when you're playing live. That's a big thing that people are raving about with this firmware update. And I did install the firmware update, but I haven't played around with it enough. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to check it out. That they added a few other effects and pedals. I think there's a clon in there now and some other units that they added to it. And the big one was that they now support NAM profiles. So that's cool because I didn't do that before. So I'm really happy that NUX is taking the time to support their stuff and to come up with other firmware that adds more functionality and features and improves their products. That makes me feel confident, you know. And I've been very impressed with what they've been doing lately. So if you have NUX stuff, let me know. I'm curious to see how you guys like it, and I encourage you guys to try them out. So Shane doesn't agree with me. Says, I don't know. Doesn't have mojo doesn't mean much. I feel they have more mojo than some cheap Epiphones. I guess it depends which one you're talking about. You know, I think for me it comes down to the styling of the guitar more than anything. But again, they're taking some steps in the right direction. Like for me, the Revstar, it's a cool guitar, but I wouldn't buy it. I don't like the style. I don't like the look. But it's solid, sounds good, plays well. Nothing wrong with it. I just don't like the look. So for me, look is very important. I have to. The guitar has to be nice, has to play well, but it has to also have that look. I'm becoming a little bit jaded over time, I think, with my choices. So Dan says there aren't any pictures of young John Lennon playing Yamaha. Well, that's the thing, you know. That's what I'm talking about with Mojo. It's kind of like there's not many rock stars out there that are rocking a Yamaha guitar. I mean, they do have endorsers, and you know, but what I mean is like the classic rock guys. You know what I mean? I think the only guy that I can think of right now, and I could maybe be wrong, there might be others. I think Santana used to play a Yamaha guitar back in the day. He had a double cut Yamaha guitar, if I'm not mistaken. And I could even validate that. I can go on the internet and figure out which one it was. I think it was the S2000 or something. SG2000. Yeah, that's the one. So he, in the mid 1970s, he collaborated with Yamaha to develop the SG2000. And one of my cousins actually had that guitar. And it's a cool guitar. I think he still has it today. Kind of like a Les Paul Killer, but it had was a double cut. So that was way before he switched to PRS and all that kind of stuff. But I can see why he switched to PRS, because that guitar was kind of like a beefed up Ibanez AR series guitar with the single cuts. Sorry, the double cuts, not the single cuts. And then he came out with that model. And then shortly after, he started being endorsed by PRS. But the first PRS guitar that I think he played was also a double cut. So it makes sense that he kind of gravitated towards PRS and away from Yamaha. Yeah, Chris Buck does play a Yamaha, the Revstar. Yeah, that's true. Again, the Revstar just doesn't do it for me. I don't know if it's just the offcuts that are not like similar. I don't know. There's just something. The headstock. It's just a question of balance. I don't know. That's just me. Now, are there other Yamaha guitars that are nice? I think there are. I think there's quite a few. Uh, Let me just take a look here. I can tell you which one I'd be more likely to buy. Let's see here. Some of the new ones, I'm not sure. Let's have a look at some of the electric guitars. So of course the Revstar, they're promoting the Revstar quite a bit. I like the hollow body guitars that they come up with. Even the Pacifica, it's kind of like a Strat knockoff, but I don't like the cuts. They have the Pacifica SC, which is a Telecaster kind of knockoff. Still prefer a Telecaster. I think the only ones that I wouldn't mind having would be the SAs, the hollow body versions, like this guy here. I'll show you which one I mean. This guy. Like that's to me that's a nice guitar. You know, solid looking guitar. If you're gonna go with a hollow body style, it's got some nice flame to it. It's got a nice, you can see the grain. Like this is a nice solid guitar. Like if you would buy this guitar, this would be a keeper. Like you can technically keep this guitar for life. You know? So, that's something, that's probably more along my style. That's something I would lean towards, let's say. The only Yamaha guitar I have right now is an acoustic. They make solid acoustics as well. And also they make some really nice other gear, like, pianos and PA systems and all kinds of stuff. It's all pretty solid stuff. Steven says, I have two Yamahas, an Alvarez 12-string, an Ibanez Tallman, an old Univox Classical, and an Applause copy of an Ovation. I remember the Tallman Yamaha guitars. That's what they have a cutaway, if I'm not mistaken. I had an Alvarez as well, Stephen. Also a very nice guitar. Very nice acoustic. Yeah, Shane, I'm not referring to the basses. Because yes, Yamaha basses, everybody plays them. Yamaha basses are like, so many artists played them, including, as you mentioned, Billy Sheehan, Billy. Who else? So many, I can't even think of them now. But Michael Anthony from Van Halen used to play Yamaha bass too. So many. The Yamaha basses are solid. So to me, that's in a different category beyond the guitars. Paul says Nuex either knock it out of the park or make what someone else does better, and as cheap. That said, I have a 4 on my board. LOL. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not necessarily just talking about the pedals. I'm also talking about multi-effects units and different things like that. They've been coming out with some pretty solid gear. So I'm pretty impressed. Mean Gene says, Tony, I watched the YouTube Nat Geo video, how guitars are made in a day. Les Paul, very cool. Yeah, I love watching those videos. I love watching any type of videos where they go through the process of building guitars. It's mind-boggling. How many steps are involved in putting together a guitar, and then you kind of realize why they're so expensive, right? There's just so many steps. It's not an easy thing to build. Like if you're gonna go into business building a product, you can build 1,000 other things that are much more easy to build and put together than a guitar. There's just so many steps along the way. So, yep, I agree. Do we want to look at the poll question, guys? I think let's take a look. I'm curious. Let me go to the poll here. And if I missed your comment or whatever along the way, guys, please forgive me. Just type it in again. I just make the window scroll, and sometimes it just scrolls too quick. So let me try and see if I can find that poll question for you guys. And we probably won't have that many votes today because I just put it up like maybe I don't know, an hour before the actual live show. So there may not be that many votes, but let's take a look. Yeah, okay. So let's see. So the question was, what do you think about the new Epiphone Les Paul double cut that we showed? And let's look at the poll results. So 44% of you said that you like it. Okay. 39 said I'll pass. And 17% had some comments. So let's hear some of the comments here. There's only one or two comments here. Paul says, I have the 2006 Gibson double cut in a lightly distressed TV yellow with a P90 at the neck and a Duncan PAF at the bridge. I never play it. I go for my SG standard every time. Funny how that works, right? Because that's the other thing is like, okay, they're coming out with this new double cut model, but the SG's been double cut for a long time. And I would tend to agree with Paul. Like I would probably rather have an SG than go with the Epiphone. I think the SG does it for me. Just so fun to play. One thing I did want to mention, guys, and this is something I noticed recently, and I wanted to share this with you guys. In case you're looking for an alternate for guitars, I don't know if they have them on their website yet. Let me just take a little look here. Give me a second. I'm just trying to share something with you. Yes, they do have it. Okay, so you know how everybody's looking for another good deal on a guitar, right? There's a lot of guitars that are overpriced out there. Well, I wanted to let you guys see because there's a couple of interesting choices here. If you guys are in Canada, as am I, and you're looking for a deal on guitars where you're not going to have to deal with tariffs and all that kind of stuff, Solo Guitars, which is located in Canada, just announced that they're going to be selling guitars, their own branded guitars. So I want to show you them because this is cool. They're not that expensive. So if you're into, Telecaster style guitars, Stratocaster style guitars, maybe you want to pick up a very inexpensive bass like a P bass or a jazz bass or something like that. They have them all. So you can see this is the selection. They even have some short scale guitars here at the bottom. So I'm excited because look, they got this one for $369 Canadian, which is a TC. They call it the TC Style 51, which is kind of like a butterscotch blonde with roasted maple fingerboard. And they didn't bastardize the headstock, so it's something ugly. Like it actually looks like a Telecaster headstock, which is nice. And it's roasted maple, which gives it a really nice color to it. So I'm, I'd grab something like this. And I zoomed in immediately to check out the hardware. As you can see, they have if I can show you this, I think I can't really zoom in more than this, but they have the brass saddles. You can see the pickguard is a nice 3-ply pickguard. It's not just a cheap pickguard. You can see how nice the neck is, roasted maple, and the headstock. You know, I like it. You know what I mean? It still looks like a Telecaster, and it also has the humbucker option, so you can slap in a nice humbucker. You can see the back of it here. Now, it doesn't look like, I mean, I don't think you will be able to see grain through this the way they painted it. It looks like it's just solid color, so it's not necessarily like a, a Fender vintage reissue where you can see the grain, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it at that price. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab one. I'm gonna take one for the team. I'm gonna try and see if I can get this one here. This one. Tell me what you think, okay? So at first glance, it doesn't seem like much, right? But check out the body. It's got a sunburst, but it's speckled. It's got like let me see if I can get a closer up view here. Can you see that? I think that's cool. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but I think that's cool. So with the dark pickguard, the really nice sunburst, the dark fretboard, and if I'm not mistaken, the frets on these guitars are not thin vintage style frets. They're nice thick frets. I really like it. So I'm going to try and get one of these guitars and run down what it's like and if it's good or not. For $300, man, I'm in. Have you guys seen them? Have you guys noticed that? I mean, do you guys buy stuff from this brand? I'm a big fan. They have really nice stuff. So let me know what you guys think. Am I getting excited for nothing? Zarly wants to know, Tony, do you still have your SG Classic? And if so, still enjoy it? Yeah, I still have it. I don't play it enough. I usually grab my SG, the standard that I have. But I do like the Classic with the P90s. And I haven't sold it. I still have it. Yeah. So Dan Steely says, nice looking axe, sparkle. Yeah, the sparkle. Steven says, this is what Tony tells his wife. I have to buy it, honey. Gotta take one for the team. Absolutely, man. She knows. She knows. Good music is good says, it looks like a glass of Guinness separating. That's one way of looking at it. Paul says, Tony, the SG does sound better. I had to use SG with P90s in '67, but didn't bond with it. Big Butt, the standard with HB, is a totally different animal. It is. It is. It's got more bite. It's got more articulation, I think. It's a whole different thing. That's why that's one of the reasons why I bought it, because it's not exactly the same, because I wouldn't necessarily want to have two identical guitars. Mean Gene says, I built a few solo kit guitars. And Skimmer says, I would go with a different color option. It's not, he doesn't like that color, maybe. How could the sound of this guitar compare with a real Fender? Well, I don't know. It all depends on what kind of pickups and stuff they put in there. They don't have very many specifications as far as the pickups go. I wish they did. This is why I want to try them out. Yeah, they don't mention. I'm just looking on their website. They don't mention it. Let me see. Maybe they do. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, the hardware and electronics. So the pickup configuration SS pickups is ceramic Wilkinson single coils. So ceramic pickups, not the best, but an easy upgrade. Fingerboard radius is 12, which is cool. It's more of a modern uh, radius. The fretboard material is rosewood, modern neck shape. And do they mention the thickness? Medium jumbo frets. And also it has a tusk nut. So that's not bad. I think the only things that might be a little bit sort of cutting corners would be the ceramic pickups on it. Human Jones says, "Ew, sparkle sunburst." He doesn't like it. I like it. I'm probably gonna get that one. We'll see. Something that I never owned is a sparkle sunburst, so that's cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, I'm gonna wrap it up because I've been talking almost an hour and a half. Ceramics are hot. They tend to be a little bit hot, but they can also sound good depending on. Fender puts ceramic pickups in a lot of their budget guitars as well. So it's not just Solo that does that. A lot of other brands do that as well. So guys, I really had fun chatting with you guys today. Thank you for making my Sunday so much fun. I do appreciate you guys dropping in as usual. And I hope you guys have plans today or tomorrow or this week to actually go out and play. Maybe play with your buddies, get together and do a jam session or a rehearsal or a show or something like that. Not just play in your room all by yourself. I know that sounds nasty, but that's not what I meant. You know what I mean. And get the most out of your guitar and gear. If I do purchase something new this week or fall off the wagon, I'll be sure to report back next week. I'll let you know what happens with that Laney that I've been looking at and see if that actually happens or not. I'm leaning more towards not right now, but you never know. And I'll be back with more stuff. If you guys are getting lonely and you haven't, you're missing my reviews, there'll be a few new ones this week. I'm going to try my best to get some new ones out for you guys, all right? And if I do get that solo guitar, I'll report back as well and do a full review, all right? Thank you guys. Please remember to hit that like button on the way out if you don't mind. Spread the word so we can have more people tuning in to the Addicted to Gear show. And we'll be back next week with more. All right? Stay out of trouble, boys. See you guys soon.